Hello and welcome to The Well-Dressed Mind, where we explore the intersection of personal style and professional success. And I'm your host, Lindsay Nicholas. In this series, we'll have honest conversations with accomplished individuals, leaders, creatives, entrepreneurs, about how they've built their lives and their careers and their identities. Because style isn't just what you wear, it's how you show up in the world. It's a signal of self-worth, a reflection of values, and sometimes a quiet source of power. So here, fashion is not frivolous, it's foundational, and I can't wait to share all of these stories with you. Now, today's guest is the fabulous Becca Weigman. So Becca is the marketing lead for Accenture Song North America and brings extensive agency experience ranging from working in retail, banking, health, and so forth, along with dynamic energy for her clients. Prior to joining Accenture, she was the owner and CEO of TM Advertising, the first and only women-owned full-service advertising agency in Dallas, Texas. There, she also led TM to be named one of Ad Age's best places to work 3 years in a row, which I'm not at all surprised with you at the helm that happened. She's been honored with the Changing the Game Award by She Runs It, formerly the Advertising Women of New York Change Agency Award for the Marcus Graham Project, and Women in Business Award from Dallas Business Journal. She's a TED Talk speaker, and her TED Talk, which I absolutely love, is called Balance is Bullshit. You can bleep that out if you need to. Outside of work, she's passionate about mentoring parents in the workforce, specifically young working mothers and women just beginning their careers. So welcome, Becca.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So I met you. I think it was back in like 2009, somewhere around that time. And we both worked for an agency. I worked in New York. You were running the agency in Dallas. And the first time I met you, you were wearing Missoni. And I thought that was a myth. I didn't actually think that people actually wore Missoni in real life, and I instantly fell in love with your fashion. So I'm so delighted to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
This is my favorite subject.
Yay! Yes, what's better than style and fashion? Nothing. So we take people back to the beginning. So do you remember like the first piece of clothing that you had, or something that really started your style journey?
Well, my childhood actually was around clothing. So my dad worked for Lee Jeans, and he was a sales rep. So I would go on, store calls with him, and I was the sample size when I was in high school and college, which is amazing.
Great.
Because I always had fantastic jeans, and he would have me like propped as like I'm just shopping and perusing, and he'd put me in something new because Lee wasn't known to be trendy, so they were trying some new trendy women's clothes. And so I would be moseying and pretending I'm not looking. He says, "Oh, it's something that my daughter's wearing over there. Becca, come here." And of course, starting over. So the two of us had our little shorthand. And so I was always around clothing. My dad had a retail store. He loved clothes. I love clothes. I love how clothes make you feel.
100%.
They set your mood, whether it's you want to be cozy and warm, or you want to be sexy, or you want to feel powerful, or just kind of funky.
Yeah.
So though I was very sad because Levi's were very in, and that was not allowed in the house. Couldn't say the other L word. They were Lee Jeans.
I do remember that. I remember the Lee and Levi's. That was sort of my high school years. That was that balance between Lee and Levi's. And I do have to say that the Levi's 501s.
Yeah,
you just basically had to wear them.
Yeah, had to wear them.
And then if you were a larger size, you would scratch out because you always had because it had the waist and the length.
Yes.
And as soon as I wasn't a 26 waist anymore, you'd like take an eraser to it and scratch it out. I do remember.
Well,
those days.
do remember. This was my terrible secret that I saved from my father. I went to college and he wasn't watching me all the time, and I bought my first pair of Guess jeans.
Ooh.
Yeah, my first non-Lee. I was very excited.
Not to steal the spotlight, but I actually remember buying my first pair of Guess jeans, which were the ones that had the zippers on the ankles.
Absolutely.
I was on a school field trip, and I convinced this girl that I was friends with, Joy Johnson. I convinced her to go to Lord & Taylor, and we snuck off from the school field trip when we were supposed to be at the aquarium or something like that. And I snuck in and bought 2 pairs of Guess jeans, and that was very exciting.
You were fancy. You were big money.
It was very exciting. It was very exciting. And I started working from very young, which is why I had the money. So my next question actually for you is, how old were you when you started working?
14.
Okay.
14. My parents had a hard and fast rule that everybody has to get a job as soon as they're of age. And I had that hard and fast rule with my 4 kids. And today, that's not necessarily a thing. And they all went to school in Dallas, and we live closer to Fort Worth. And they had to get a job at 16, and they had to be in the service industry.
Yeah.
Because I think the service industry teaches you everything you need to know about the world.
Absolutely.
Organization, money,
and the pace.
Professionalism. And
the pace. Like, even when I worked in marketing and advertising, I always loved people that had a retail background. Because when you know how to move, you know how to get things done. If someone's standing in front of you right then and there, like, you need to know how to act with them right at that present moment.
Understand people.
Yep.
Because it's not always a great experience in a service environment. Yeah. So all my kids have been in service.
That's wonderful. Yeah. That's fantastic. So you have an amazing career. Like, you have an amazing journey. And I know I've known you through a few different places where you've been. But can you just walk us through sort of how your journey began? What did you study in school?
Yeah.
And did you go sort of a linear path, or were you more, taking some detours?
Somewhat linear, but I call myself the accidental CEO.
Okay.
Because when I started, I went to Loyola University in Maryland, and I was going to be in sales like my dad. And I babysat all the time because I was dirt poor, and it was a nice neighborhood, wealthy neighborhood. And I had several women I babysat for regularly. And one woman says, "Oh, you were made for advertising." And me, being 21 and knowing everything, and advertising wasn't in the business school. It was in communications, and we were smarter than them. So yuck, can't work in advertising. So, but I had to go do this interview because it was her friend, who I, of course, at 21, I didn't do any research, and because I wasn't going to work there. But she said, "What department?" I said, "I don't know." And she starts rattling off departments, and she said, "Well, research and strategic planning." And I said, "Well, it sounds kind of smart." So I said, "Okay, I'll do that." And I go into my interview, and this woman's Marcia Cohen, straight from Manhattan.
Okay.
And she says, she thinks I'm some snot-nosed kid from a richy rich school, which I'm like the opposite. I had $2 rubbed together. And she said, "So, Jim Dale," and who happened to be the CEO of the agency, and her nemesis. So I said, with all due respect, I don't know Jim Dale. I don't know what he does for the agency, and I have no intention of working in advertising. I'm doing this strictly out of the love of a woman I babysit for. And she laughed so hard. 3 hours later, I had a job, and I did not leave advertising.
Wow.
My whole career.
Wow. What did you buy when you first felt like you made it? What was that purchase like? And what defines the point where you really thought you made it in your career?
I don't know that I had a moment where I'm like, I made it. Because, you think in your mind, when I hit this number or when I get this title, but I never really had that.
And then, well, even when you get there, it just feels de rigueur. Like, it just feels like, okay, now I've got my goals are set in a different direction.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was at an agency under the Arnold Holding Company, and it was right by the Pentagon City. So I went over at lunch and went shopping, and I said, I'm going to go to Tiffany's, and I bought the silver beads, and the silver beads, and I walked out with this little turquoise bag, and I was like, I just bought myself a completely frivolous gift for myself from Tiffany's, and I feel like $1 million.
I was just going to ask you how you felt about that, and I imagine there's nothing.
I am such a big girl.
Yeah, I think it's treating yourself. It's giving yourself rewards. When I get a new job, which obviously now I've had my own business for 10 years, so there's no more new jobs. But I always bought myself a present. It would be, I think at one point I bought myself a Cartier Roadster. I've bought myself, Louis Vuitton bag.
Yeah.
It's just sort of, clothes are so not frivolous. Like, I just think all of this, like,
they all mean something. And in fact, I remember events by what I was wearing.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So I watched your TED Talk, which I absolutely love. I've actually watched it a few times, and I've sent it around to a lot of people because I think it's just fabulous.
It's hard to watch yourself on video.
But you're fabulous. And you wore the best outfit. So you had a shorter skirt on. You had your bracelet on, which you talked about as well, which we can talk about. We talk about here. And you had a pair of knee boots on, and you just were so badass. Like, you look so rock star. And I always love it when people just don't show up on stage with, just a basic black suit or something. First of all, how long did it take you to pick that outfit or decide what you were going to wear? And what's your process when you have big moments like that?
I tend to focus on the shoes. Okay. I want something moderately neutral and simple, and then just like the pow of the shoe. Though I can say that, but then I've also done the complete opposite and just done something crazy dress. Like, one was like a cartoon dress when I was on stage. But you got to pick one thing, I think, that has the real pow. But I do remember I did buy Christian Louboutin lace black boots for that event.
They were fabulous. They are absolutely
still
fabulous.
one of my favorite pair.
So do you, when you're thinking about what you're going to wear to events or even what you wear to work on a daily basis, are you a planner or is it something you have to wake up in the morning and see how you feel and what seems like it's going to feel good to you?
I tend to think about the week. And it's been interesting, the different places that I've worked in and their the environment and the culture there. My very first agency was very formal, very dressy.
Okay.
And I do remember vividly the creatives would wear jeans on Fridays, and Friday was pretty loose. And it was the first time I was a little baby advertising person, and I wore jeans. And I'll never forget this very senior guy walked by and said, "Just dress for the job you want, not for the job you have." And I never wore jeans to work again.
Absolutely. And then drive the car of your last job. That's
Right.
what I've always heard. Yep.
Yep. So that always amped up my game. And then it got to a point where I traveled so much, I just did dresses because they're easier.
Yep.
They're
Absolutely.
just easy to travel with. And it's funny. I work for a different firm that is very, very conservative. And I have a lot of agency clothes.
Yeah.
So I think they all are. Sometimes I shock them with what I wear.
I was going to say, do you push the envelope a bit?
I do.
Okay.
Well, I remember even as a kid. So I went to a Catholic high school that had a dress code, which always gives you wiggle room to play and push as far as you can. And their one dress code, they should have said no denim or no jeans. They said no 5-rivet pants. So it was the 80s, and I had one of my father's Lee jeans came out, and it was these hot pink pants with rivets all the way down the side.
Oh, nice.
So they pulled me in the principal's office. I said, "You said 5 rivets. I have 20." And so I always do like to push the envelope as far as possible.
Are you a in-store shopper? Like, what is an amazing retail experience for you? Or do you shop online as well?
I shop every which way. I even shop on Instagram.
Okay.
I mean, so sometimes I'll get something. I'm like, if it's super inexpensive, I'll just like put on some fabulous shoes or like wear fabulous jewelry or something like that, because that can change every outfit, obviously. But it's funny. My husband always says, I want to spend my money on experiences, and you spend money on clothes and things. Until I was in Switzerland with him, and we went to Dior, and they poured us champagne and walked around the room, and we were there for 4 hours.
That's best.
"Oh, this is an experience." I'm like, exactly.
It's so interesting because I'm absolutely the person that's about the stuff and not about the experience. Because to me, if I'm sitting across the dinner from my dinner table from my husband, if I'm in London or if I'm at home, it's the experience that we're having together. Like,
Right.
It doesn't actually matter to me so much where we are.
Right.
And I do consider. I've heard Jenna Lyons actually say this, that her shoes are her friends. And I do feel that. Like, I actually find like that, not that clothes have feelings, but I do feel like you don't want to leave things in your closet.
Yeah.
You want to get everything, you want to wear things. So I'm definitely the person that's about the stuff, I have to say.
I will not lie. I've gone into my closet on more than several occasions and just look around.
Yay! So I also remember this. So back when we worked together back in the day, I remember you telling me this, and this is not insignificant because it is part of the reason that I actually looked for property in Dallas, Texas. Not to give you let you know how much you've influenced my life, but I remember you telling me once that your closet, I don't remember if you said that your closet sleeps 6 or 11. I know I've grown it into 11, but I don't remember if you initially told me 6 or 11. And I was like, oh my gosh, her closet. And I was living in New York City at the time. And, obviously New York City closets are not the best closets in the world. And I was looking for, when I came to Dallas, I'm looking for a house where I can sleep 6 in my closet.
Well, we have 4 kids. So when a tornado would come, we get tornado sirens. That's where we would go. All 6 of us in my closet.
That is, I actually
brings
do.
me great joy.
I do have to say I have a beautiful closet in Dallas now. So yeah, it's
As
quite
you should.
It's quite wonderful. But it does matter. Like, I think it does matter. So with all the amazing wardrobe options, and I know you've always had incredible taste, do you get rid of things? Do you save things? What's your process for sort of churning your wardrobe?
I do. I definitely try to buy classics, and I thank goodness I haven't really changed sizes since I was 18. So
Okay.
I have things
Wonderful.
from every era. But I keep certain things from each era. I still have those Guess jeans, by
Do
the
you?
way. I do.
I have mine as well, but it was because the then gentleman, the man who was the coach of the Boston Celtics, signed mine.
Oh, that's
so
amazing.
I have them, except for the fact that he signed them in like a light pen, and I thought it was a brilliant idea to go over it with Sharpie. But that apparently means that is not actually his signature now because I went over it with Sharpie, but I still have them.
You know it's a signature.
Yeah, I know it's a signature.
So I do purge, but we have 4 kids and 2 of them are 2 daughters, and so they have the first dibs, and then
Okay.
my niece has the second dibs, and then I do purge. But I do keep a lot because, one, it still fits, and then depending on what wave I'm going on in my life, I went through a vintage phase.
Okay.
And so, I go and now my kids are big thrifters, so that's actually super fun to thrift and find some kind of wacky stuff. So I do keep a lot of it. I try to purge as much as I should. My husband would probably tell you I don't purge enough.
Okay.
But
Yeah. I think thrifting's really great, actually. My nieces do that as well. Like, they're really big into thrifting. And I think you can look at some of the younger girls these days and you can really get an idea of what's going to come.
Yeah.
Even from my brand, which is, typically our market tends to be women 35 plus. But there's so many ideas in what the young kids are doing. And I love the fact that they're not just shopping fast fashion now,
Right.
that they're putting their own stamp on it and they're buying something that there might be one of.
That's
and
right.
actually making it their own. I think that's
Well, my kids, thankfully, they don't dress like that, but they call it the basic TikTok girl.
so
They do not like the basic TikTok girl.
Okay, that's
so thrifting is a lot of fun for them.
okay. That's very interesting.
And
I've not
my
heard that one before.
daughter Bernadette particularly does a lot of thrifting in my closet
Okay,
and takes it to Austin with her.
okay. I love shopping in my closet, so I'll fall in love with pieces. And I was very fortunate when I worked at Marina Bay Sands in Singapore. I had access to a lot of the best brands and a lot of the best brand sample sales. So I have in my wardrobe, I've got a lot of Louis Vuitton ready to wear. I've got Gucci ready to wear. I've got a lot of amazing brands, and I'm very fortunate that I actually love the pieces that I make and that most of my wardrobe now is that. But I will find that I'll go off a piece for a while, and then 6 months later, I'll be like, okay, I've done that. I've sort of had that piece. And then I'll go back in and it's my favorite piece.
Yeah.
And it can be
And sometimes it's years.
I was just going to actually say, it could be 6 months, it could be 2 years, it could be 3 years. There's a new boot out and you're changing it, you're putting it with a new boot. And all of a sudden, it's a completely different look.
Different.
Yeah,
And even the waves, like with my daughters, do you still have your little Benetton sweaters from the 80s? I'm like,
wow.
of course I do.
Wow.
And, the mom jeans. So each year, every trend that comes back, I still have some gems from
That's great.
those days.
I wish I saved more. I think I went through a real minimalist phase. When we worked together, I went to a phase where every single day was a J. Crew sleeveless shell, black, and then a black pair of Theory wool pants, nice trousers. I had the boot cut. I had every single one. So I had a million of the tops, a million of the bottoms, and I basically had a uniform and wore that every day. And then I would switch out the accessories. And I remember one day I wore the exact same outfit in brown, and somebody at work said, "You look like a rainbow," because it wasn't black. But I went through that phase of only wearing black, and I had decided at that time my wardrobe is going to be black, and I got rid of so many things.
Oh,
Because I was like, no, I have defined my style, and this is what my style is. And now I think of some of those things I threw away. Like I had ball skirts, that I would love to have now. That would have been really fun. But
I've never had a uniform phase, but I will say I have gone. Someone made a comment one time. I think when I was running TM. They said it's been 2 years and I've never seen you wear the same outfit twice.
Wow.
So I remember what I wear and try not to wear it again.
Wow. Interesting.
Probably too much information.
No, that's my father used to would put, when he took something off, he would put it in the far end of the closet, and then he just made sure that he was doing a
rotation?
constant rotation of things, that he didn't wear things too much. I remember what I wear, but I do repeat outfits quite a bit. So you're not repeating outfits.
I don't tend to repeat outfits very often.
Okay. Very interesting. Yeah. Very interesting.
It's just because it puts me in a new mood. It's a new day.
Okay.
Clothes are, I don't want to say armor. It's more like a celebration.
Yeah.
Just if you put on clothes that make you feel good, and you have to know your body, your figure, how clothes fit.
100%.
And because I grew up around clothes all the time, I'm very aware of what fits me well and what doesn't. So you kind of know your style, and then you feel good, and you're not trying to fit something in that doesn't look quite right, and then makes you feel awkward. I mean, I always tell my kids, if they say, does this look okay? I'm like, how do you feel in it?
Yeah, 100%.
And if they're like, I'm going to take it off. Like,
Yeah.
put on something you feel like, hey, look at you.
If I wear something one day and I get home and I'm just like, I didn't feel great in it,
Yeah.
it's not coming back
Yeah.
out again. Like,
Yeah.
that's the end of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to. Clothes are all about making you feel wonderful.
Yeah.
It's the best part of
It
best
really
part
is.
of getting dressed, I think, is how it's
like
making you
playing
feel.
dress up every day.
And we're so lucky at the store because we get to see people walk out of the fitting room and you can watch people change. Like, you can watch, they come out and their postures change, and you just know when you
know it's right for them.
you know it's right for them, 100%. Yeah, even before they open their mouth, you can just tell when something's
Yeah.
right for them. Has anyone ever influenced your style? Because you seem like you really know your style, obviously. You've got a very keen sense of style. Is there anyone along the way that's either professionally or personally that's really influenced? Outside of your dad, obviously.
I mean, my dad definitely, but also the way he continued to celebrate it. And he was in his 80s, he was still buying clothes. And, you know, he'd get all dolled up for church, and he's like, look at me, I look like $1 million. And I just thought he was chronically happy. It was a beautiful thing. But he
wonderful.
also said that to me every morning, honey, you look like $1 million. And it just, clothes made him happy. And I think that's how I associated like emotions and confidence and feelings with clothes is because of my dad. But I will also say, my parents lived with us for many, many, many years, as you know. And my aunt, my mom's sister, never had kids, but she lived with my sister Frances in Colorado. And when she passed away, Fran and Mark asked me to clean out her closet, and she had weirdly clothes, like 3 dresses from the 50s, 3 skirts from the 60s, a 70s dress, etc. And I had never known her other than being a very, very large woman. So, and I saw pictures maybe at my mom's wedding. The 3 dresses from the 50s I put on, and it was and they were all handmade, and it was as if they were handmade for me.
Wow.
And I didn't know that we had literally the exact same body. It was my sister started crying. So it was like, so that to me, like that 50s era, I just think about how my mom dressed and how my aunt dressed, and my mom was quite a fashionista too before she bore 7 children. But and I wish she would have kept a couple of her gems.
Yeah,
but
sure.
so that sticks with me, is those 50s kind of vibe.
Okay.
And I always think about my mom and my aunt.
So the one question that we ask on every podcast that we do, and this is going to be a really tough one for you based on some of your other answers, I think. So if you were on a TV show, so you get cast in a TV show, and it's 13 episodes, so you're shooting it, say, for 3 months, but the whole series takes place in one day. So it's like the TV show 24.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to use one outfit, but you're going to have to wear it on the series for the whole 13 episodes. What's your outfit?
Where are we? Where's the geography? Wow, that's a tough one.
It is a tough one. Some people can answer that a little bit more easily than you, but given that you don't repeat outfits, I imagine that is a bit of a challenge.
I would say I have this fabulous Emilio Pucci dress it's light blue, but it's very Pucci, and it just has a kind of a little cinch, and it's just long sleeves, super simple, but it's bang, like fabulous. So I think I would wear that dress.
Lovely. It's going to be a good show.
Or one of the Messina dresses.
Okay. And who is going to play you in a movie?
Oh, God help them. I don't know. Anyone who's crazy and talks too much and uses their hands. That's a tough one.
Okay.
That's a tough one. Who do you think would play me?
Kate Blanchett.
Oh, she's classy.
Yeah, she's classy.
She's a lot more mature than I am.
She's wicked classy. But I bet she's because I think that she's like a bit of a whiskey drinker, and so I imagine that there's a side of Kate Blanchett that's a little bit more.
I like it.
A little bit more wild. That's
like it.
That's where I'm going. That's where I'm going with that
I
one.
like it. My one daughter says I look just like Jennifer Aniston, which is like the opposite of what I look like, and so she's my favorite child.
Okay. I love Jennifer Aniston. How can you not love Jennifer Aniston? Let's love her. Basically, just to wrap up, you've had an amazing career. If someone is looking at you and just thinking, gosh, this is a journey that I'd like to go on, and also being that kind of woman that, wears whatever she wants to work and sort of defies the dress code and just lives your own life, what advice do you have for people?
Well, I remember I was going to stop working. I was going to be a chief household officer. I even had my own title. And Cecilia, I had how many jobs. Oh, I think I had all 4, and I was going back full time. And Cecilia said, "Mommy, why are you going back to work?" And I said, "You know what, honey? Because I'm really good at it and I love it."
Yeah, how
and
wonderful.
I didn't think about it. And I said, "Wow, it's actually really good advice." And as long as you can say that, and believe it or not, there have been people who really love their jobs and they're just not good at it.
Yeah.
And then vice versa. And if you don't feel happy, and I think that's part of it, is like, you got to own a career that brings you joy and
100%,
wear clothes that bring you joy. And I think when you do those 2 things, your job and your clothes and all those things bring you joy, you're very good at what you do. And you walk in a room and you own it with confidence. Because I don't really care if people don't like what I wear. Unless it's, inappropriate. I'm obviously
absolutely,
not going to be But, and most people are just kind of like, I love that. Even if it's just weird, I love that you will wear that and not care what anybody thinks.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're really saying, but that's fine too.
And that's wonderful. That's confidence. That's living a life and confident and knowing that you're good at what you do is also really important there.
So follow what you love to do and what you're really good at, and rock out in whatever you want to wear.
Very good. So we will give the link to your TED Talk in the show notes.
Oh dear.
It's so great.
You'll know way too much about me.
It's so good. It's so good.
Every personal detail.
Yeah, and your bracelet, which we love.
And my bracelet, which is my everything.
Yeah, which is your 4 children.
It's my 4 children.
Yeah.
It is. It actually was a charm bracelet originally. All my kids are named after a saint and a family member, and it fell off in a parking lot in Baltimore. So my husband got me this, we call it the claw, because it'll never, ever fall off my wrist again. And so they're with me all the time.
Wonderful. It has been such an immense pleasure having you. It is so amazing to reconnect with you.
I'm so happy, and I'm so selfishly happy that you're in Texas.
Yay! Really just so enjoyed chatting with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend.